Hello and welcome to Todd Rolls Dice, where we're back with the Scourge of Ghyran. It's day 7, and it's a cruel world if you're the Kruleboyz. Law drop today is from Lewis, but we're here for the rules. Emerging from the fetid marshes of Ghyran are two new battle formations. I've just realised this is Kruleboyz. They're treating Kruleboyz and Ironjaws separately again, yet they're in the same book. In the same faction pack. Interesting. Not that I'm against it, I like that individuality, and I know that they're never going to be separate battle tomes. Realistically, there's no need for it, but it's nice that they're getting their own thing, focused on them. Anyway, two new battle formations. Swamp Horde Bullies rewards your Kruleboyz with extra attacks when they gang up on an enemy unit. Sounds very Kruleboyz. Some might say it was a bit cowardly, but to these Uruks it's a cunning Manu. It's dead sneaky. The hilarious bad-mouthing betas keys into the dirty tricks rule. So good are these Kruleboyz at hurling insults and other unsavory things that they goad the enemy into making rash moves that inevitably lead to pain and suffering. That sounds so much fun. The new Monstrous Traits come in 3 flavors: meaner, sneakier, and tougher. Mean monsters get a nasty +1 attack, all the better to eat you with. Sneaky monsters can, once per battle, move out of combat in the hero phase without taking damage, while tough monsters reduce the rend of enemy weapons that hit them. Some interesting stuff in there. Last but not least, 2 new war scrolls, Swampboss Skumdrekk and the Killaboss on giant Gnashtoof. The latter's new abilities are arguably some of the most entertaining in the Scourge of Ghyran series, good to hear, as they enable him to slink off the battlefield, reappear elsewhere, pounce on an enemy hero and drag them off into the undergrowth. That sounds so cool, boys. Meanwhile, Swampboss Skumdrekk, already a keen gambler, has taken to wagering with his own boys. Now, when they fail to enact a dirty trick, he gains a chip where he can use it to influence the outcome of other dirty tricks. Slopclaw has also learned a new skill, thrashing his tail around to knock enemies off their feet, making them easy prey for him and his master. Interesting stuff. We will get onto the profiles and things in a moment, but let's just run over the General's Handbook fact. This is fact number 3. All-out attack and all-out defense are 2 of the most used commands in the game, and they're being updated. The former confers the same benefits as before, but it comes at a price. -1 to your save. I like it. Risk reward, tactical decisions, berserker rage. I like it. You better hope their aggressive advances are enough to finish off the enemy before they get hit back. Meanwhile, the defensive bonus for all-out defense now applies to a specific attack ability rather than an entire phase, so you'll need to think very carefully about when to raise your shields. That's very similar to a change they made to Armor of Contempt for Space Marines in 40k, where it went from the entire phase to just a specific attack. I'm okay with these changes, because both of those abilities were quite strong, so now you've got to think about not only where you use them, but how you use them as well. That's all for the Scourge of Ghyran and GHB today. Make sure you return tomorrow. The article will be quite humorous. Bone Reapers? Humorous? As in leg bones? Do we think, is that a stretch? I don't know. Which is the laughing faction? Because it clearly isn't Bone Reaper. Okay, so before we get into the War Scrolls, this change is really nice, and it again just further cements one of the things that I love about AOS. And the fact that it is now just playing with things. They're seeing things that they need to change, the things that they want to tweak, and all the powerful stuff is not necessarily getting toned down, but getting changed to make it more interesting. I think this change, the changes that we've seen previously have been pretty nice to see, but I actually think that this change is huge. And I'm so excited to actually get into this General's Handbook. What are we, about a month away? I really want to know what other changes have come. So this is really cool. But how about we get into the actual rules for the Kruleboyz here? Faction rules: Kruleboyz, battle formations. Swamp Horde Bullies, once per turn army, any combat phase. Ganging up. Declare pick a friendly Kruleboyz unit to be the target. That unit must be in combat with an enemy that is in combat with another friendly Kruleboyz unit. Pragnos cannot be picked as the target. That's probably fair. Effect: for the rest of the turn, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of the target's melee weapons. That's just generally quite nice, quite strong. But the fun one, bad-mouthing beaters. Once per turn army, your shooting phase, Cruel Mockery. Declare pick a friendly Kruleboyz unit to be the Insult Hurler. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of it to be the target, then make a dirty trick roll. Effect until the start of your next turn. Each time that target uses a move ability and does not end that move closer to the Insult Hurler than it was at the start of that move, inflict D6 mortal damage on the target after the move ability has been resolved. Keywords dirty trick. Wow. You charge me or you take D6 mortal damage? Wow. That's cool. So thematic as well. Kruleboyz players, please don't insult your opponents too much when you're throwing insults at them. Monstrous Traits. Passive Meanen. Effect add 1 to the hit rolls or attacks made with this unit's companion weapons. We're seeing this repeated quite a few times. Companion things is quite a big thing in AOS. Not necessarily a bad thing, but this is one of these rules, one of these traits that we just keep seeing. Next one, once per battle enemy hero phase Sneakian. Effect, this unit can use the normal move or retreat ability as if it were your movement phase. In addition, no mortal damage is inflicted on this unit by retreat abilities this phase. It's nice, but it's only once per battle, and I really don't like traits and things that are just a single use. I think on balance that's good, but there's just better options that will last you the whole fight, the whole battle. So, and our final one, passive Toughen. Subtract 1 from the rend characteristic of weapons used for attack to target this unit. I think that's just generally nice. I don't know. I don't know if there's a great one there, but I don't know what the other traits are. I think that is brilliant. I think both of those actually, the battle formations so far are the standout. But let's take a look at the war scrolls. So we're going to start with Swampboss Skumdrekk. 8-inch move, 4-up save, 15 health but 5 control. Melee weapons, the Snatcher Stick, crit mortal, 5 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage. And Slopclaw's Bite and Talons, crit mortal and companion. They do degrade, but its base is 6 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 2s, 1 rend, 3 damage. So quite nice. Passive battle damage. While this unit has 10 or more damage points, the attacks characteristic of the Bite and Talons is reduced to 4. So from 5 health and below, you lose 2 attacks, which isn't the most severe that I've seen. Second passive Rigged Odds effect. The first time you fail a dirty trick roll each turn, give this unit 1 betting chip. Each time you make a dirty trick roll for an ability that targets a unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit, you can spend any number of betting chips. For each betting chip you spend, add 1 to that dirty trick roll. That's pretty nice, isn't it? You just stack up chips and then you cash them in whenever you want. That sounds pretty good. Final ability. Once per turn army, any combat phase, Thrashing Tail. Declare pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target. Effect, roll a dice. If the roll is less than or equal to the number of models in the target unit for the rest of the turn, each time this unit uses an attack ability, if all of the attacks target that enemy unit, those attacks score critical hits on unmodified hit rolls, 5 up. This ability also affects companion weapons. Keywords Rampage. It's not terrible. Unit keywords, Unique Hero Monster, Destruction and Kruleboyz. Skumdrekk is 250 points. Regiment options, not to 1 Mob Wrangler, not to 1 Swamp Beast, any Kruleboyz. But let's take a look at the Killaboss on the Great Gnashtoof. So we got a 10-inch move with a 3-up save, 10 health, 2 control, melee weapons, the Boss Skewer, anti-hero plus 1 rend, and crit mortals, 5 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage, and the Great Gnashtoof Jaws is companion attacks, 5 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage. First ability, once per turn army your movement phase, Prowling the Flanks. Effect, if this unit is wholly within 6 inches of the battlefield, remove this unit from the battlefield and set it up again wholly within 6 inches of the battlefield edge and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So if you're within 6 inches of the battle, then you probably would keep them on the flanks if that's the ability you're playing with. You can just like pseudo deep strike them around As long as you're outside 9 inches of all enemy units, I don't think that's too bad. That's just a fun little movement rule that will help you cap objectives and things. 2 control isn't the biggest, but I just think that's quite fun, and it frees the unit up to bounce around a little bit, which is cool. And then the combat phase ability, once per turn army, any combat phase, drag them out. Declare pick an enemy infantry hero in combat with this unit to be the target. Effect roll 2d6. This unit can move a distance in inches up to the value of the roll. Then if possible, your opponent must remove the target from the battlefield and set it up again within 1 inches of this unit. You roll your 2d6, you move, let's say you roll 6. So you move 6 inches, then if possible your opponent must remove the target from the battlefield, so it just pulls that enemy hero within your combat range. I suppose it gets it away from bodyguard units and things. I think that's an interesting rule. I don't think I'm fully grasping what that can do, but I think smarter people and people who run Kruleboyz would be able to see how you can link up with things. But just to isolate an enemy hero, I think that's quite fun. And it fits the vibe of the Kruleboyz, dragging something off to the swamp and things. War Scroll keywords: Hero, Cavalry, Destruction and Kruleboyz. Killaboss is 160 points. Regiment options 0 to 1. Mob Wrangler, any Kruleboyz. Now, I can't compare either of these units to their faction packs because they actually have a battle tome, but points wise, in the battle tome, from what I can tell, Swampboss Skumdrekk is 220 points, so whatever they do, it's a 30-point increase if you want to run this one, whereas the Killaboss on the Great Gnashtoof is 160, so the same points. I'd love, like I've been doing previously, I'd love to be able to run through these and we actually compare the datasheets. I haven't got the current datasheets to hand, I don't have the battle tome, so unfortunately we can't do that this video. But if you've got the battle tome and you've compared these units, let me know what you think between them, which ones you would run, Kruleboyz players specifically, which units stand out to you. I think War Scroll wise, they're not the worst that we've seen. There's some really fun themey abilities that fit the vibe of the army, which for me is pretty huge for someone who isn't that bothered about match play and just wants to have fun and roll dice. Monstrous Traits don't excite me too much, but they're not terrible. I suppose a lot of them have companion attacks, a lot of the units, a lot of your heroes are on companions, so you could really play into the add one to the hit rolls, which would make the Gnashtoof hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s. I think that's not bad. Things like that, so there's play there. I really like these 2 battle formations. Of all the ones that we've seen, I know it's only 7, well 14, but 7 factions. These 2 are my favourite battle formations, and I love that bad-mouthing betas one. I think that is just hilarious, and I love that the studio have come up with this idea for a rule, and that they've just dropped it for free. Absolutely wonderful. I'd say charming, it's not charming, because it's going to hurt your army, but still, load of fun. Let me know what you think of this Scourge of Ghyran faction update in the comments below. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.